Over the course of his 34 years in Unilever, Doug Bailey went from management trainee to chief HR officer, worked on several continents, markets in Europe, Middle East and Africa. In this video, Doug talks about how to develop your talent and build a successful career in a large international company.
Hi, I'm Doug Bailey, Unilever's Chief Human Resource Officer. Welcome to Unilever.
Why do you think Unilever is number one in FMCG industry?
Look, I think for a couple of reasons. I think at the moment, I think we have a very attractive proposition. I think what we stand for in terms of just our history, our heritage, our values, and more importantly at the moment, I think the ambition we've set for our business and how we want to really give back to society and be part of the solution for what I think is becoming some really big challenging problems for the world. So if you listen to our ambition, you've heard our ambition about doubling the size of our business whilst reducing our environmental footprint through the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan, it's a very exciting proposition. And young people at the moment are very excited to work for a company that is really interested not only just in shareholder value, but really more interested in shared value and more interested in giving back to the communities and the consumers in which they serve in order for us to grow our business profitably and sustainably as we go forward. And so I think that combination of great brands, a great place to work, a great innovation track record, and really a purpose, a real purpose about giving back and being part of a solution in a world that really at the moment is very stressed, got very scarce resources, is in real turmoil at the moment, is something that people want to contribute to. And I think that's very appealing for people at the moment. I think our track record, our history, etc., all play to that. And so I think it's a great place to be. In fact, if I'm honest with you, I think the most exciting times for Unilever, I'm not ready to retire by any means, but I'm quite close to retirement in the next however many years. And I'm a little bit envious, to be honest with you, of leaving the organization in the next few years and seeing probably the very best part of Unilever still to come. It's a very exciting time. It's very challenging, but it's full of opportunity. And if I was young all over again, I'd be certainly knocking on the door of Unilever to come and work here, let me tell you.
What is the edge of working in Unilever?
Look, I think agile working has really come about as a result of the massive technology changes you've seen. So I think as a mindset for me in our business, we want to try and get ourselves in a position where we enable our people to be able to work anywhere, anytime, sort of any place in order to maximize their performance and output. And I think technology enables us to do that. It now enables us to focus on performance, to really focus on output. And I think increasingly we have to become quite sensitive to this, given the very diverse nature of our workforce and the fact we do want everybody to be able to truly contribute to the maximum of their ability. So agile working is a competitive advantage for us.
You started as a management trainee in Unilever. What has changed in the program since that time?
In 1978, when I joined the business, we did have a leadership development program or a graduate recruitment program. I, in fact, joined as one of the management trainees, we were called then. And it very much followed similar lines to what we've got today. It was probably less structured, maybe slightly more informal, but there was a very deliberate program. We've always very passionately believed in getting people into the bottom of the organization, accelerating their development and taking it through. So there was the form of the same sort of program as we have today. Today, I think it's probably a little bit more sophisticated. It's well thought through now. It lasts for a slightly longer period, gives people a very good cross-section of the business in the first year, then allows them really to start specializing in their second year in the areas that they've chosen. So we've moved it along, but it still is very much a very important part of our business. It's how we grow our people.
Do you remember when you first had to act as a manager?
I can remember one really good part where I really learnt about the value of the company and the values it stood for. I can remember having to write quite a difficult report about the launch of a particular product that hadn't been very successful. And I can remember feeling I had to write what I really truly believed in, but I was a little bit worried about, because I was a very junior manager, about the impact that my report would have on more senior managers, because it was quite critical about what was going on. And the first piece of advice, which I still remember to this day, given to me by my manager then, was to write how I saw it, to be very truthful and transparent about what I thought the issues were, but to write it in a way that was non-critical and it was just really fact-based, and it really was putting it out on the table and being very transparent. I can remember that was quite a big decision for me to write it how I felt, as opposed to trying to maybe write it in a slightly more sensitive way. I wrote it how I felt at the end of the day, and it was well received. And that was a very important lesson for me in my leadership life. I think in all big businesses, and particularly in a business like Unilever, you have to always be able to learn to manage across a matrix of the organization, people in various different areas. We talk about one of our important skills to be able to strategically influence people as a skill that you need to develop and build. And so if you like, I was strategically influencing by sticking to the facts always. Fact-based discussions always make discussions much easier than hearsay or I thought and I think. So fact-based discussions really make discussions very easy because you can put the things on the table and then you can have a rational discussion about the right decision to be able to make, and at the same time still protect the integrity of people that you're working with and be able to continue to work with them day in and day out. Because ultimately, the power of the organization is the sum of all our people and the fact that we're all focused and aligned and working in the right direction. So it's an important skill to learn quite early.
What can you say about leadership development within Unilever?
It's a big question that you ask. I think that our leaders, and particularly in an organization like Unilever, I think if I go back when I joined the company, I must be honest with you, I never really had much idea how senior I'd go, my ambitions, where I'd get to. But I was given the opportunity by joining a great company like Unilever to have a platform in which I could express myself and be who I am and grow through performance and delivery to become a leader and to become a leader in an organization. I have a strong personal leadership belief that the higher you get in the organization, the more you serve the organization. So my concept of leadership in Unilever is to have a very clear strategic agenda, which I usually try and co-create with the people that I work with, to set the boundaries for that, but then to create the environment through my leadership that enables everybody working for me to truly be able to grow and blossom, to truly grow to their fullest potential. In that way, I serve the organization. The organization doesn't serve me as sort of the head of HR as I currently am. I serve the organization to create the space for them to truly grow. And leaders who understand that, who are strategically sound, set the agenda very carefully, and then allow the space and encouragement through coaching and developing, allowing people to make mistakes, but really encouraging them and driving the performance by higher, I think are the leaders that we need in society today. And I have a very strong view about that.
When you had to promote people to a leadership role, what were the factors on which you based your decision?
So I think it would be two things. There's clearly a very hard performance part about it. So there is the skills and the capabilities and the results, the output of an individual first of all that are really very important. Is this person capable? Can he deliver? Does he have a track record of consistency? Can he continue to raise the bar? Is he inquisitive? Does he have good sound strategic thinking? Does he have a track record of delivery? So that's almost, if you like, the school fees for coming into the consideration for the discussion of the job. What I also look at very clearly is this ability for people to develop people, to grow the capacity of the organization he leads, to be able to lead teams, okay, to create the environment that I speak about allowing people to truly grow, and having that very good judgment, if you like, to make the sum of the individual parts of this team much greater than the whole. And so I look particularly the more senior we get in the organization for a combination of both those. I think the more senior you get in the organization, the more the business part about it, the hard results delivery is a non-negotiable part of it. And the real rate determining step is this individual's ability to grow the capacity, to grow people in his organization, to raise the capability of the organization. I think it's really important. So I look for a lot of that in people.
How to judge whether the person is capable of taking over a leadership role?
Look, I think one of the things I'd look at is the ability of this person to be able to think clearly, to focus an agenda, to be able to develop an agenda, and then more importantly, to be able to communicate that and align people in a team, particularly if you're going to lead people behind that agenda with great clarity and great rigor. Okay, and I think the ability to do that is very important if you want to lead. The ability to be able to help define a strategic agenda, and that might mean working with the people in the team. Usually that's the best way of doing it because it allows them all to own the agenda. And then having done that, to agree that, and then to get people to really align behind that agenda and all facing the same direction and running it hard. And then to be able to, as you manage that team, to be able to adjust the course, give feedback on direction, make some decisions when we get to areas of crossroads. So those are the sort of things you'd look like from a leadership point of view. Clearly for that person to lead the team, he'd need some sort of ability, hard-earned business results, because that also helps. In leading a team, if you've done that before and you've got the results, people look up to that and they say, I can work for this person. This person knows, has done this job before, and I'm comfortable being led by them. That also helps so a track record of delivery. But those combination of things are really important.
How much time does it take to become a manager in Unilever?
For us, given the caliber of the people that we bring in, 2 to 3 years is really sort of where we set the mark at. And 2 years roughly, we want people that are ready to go into their first management jobs by that sort of pace. And so that's that's through years, I guess, of experience, of watching how quickly we can develop managers. And so 2 years is roughly when we want the guys to hit the traps for the first management position. Nothing more scientific than that, but that's sort of the expectation that we should we set and we try and stick to. I think it's also clear that we try and, at the end of 2 years, are very clear about those who we think we can make it, and those that we don't think are going to be able to make it as we go through that process.
Do you think it's better to start in one company and continue to work there, or to try and change every 2 to 3 years?
Look, my own view is whatever you do, you need to be able to build a track record of really doing things. So if I look back on my 33 years of working for Unilever, there are probably 2 or 3 jobs that have been milestones of my life, where I've stayed in a particular role for a long period of time. One was when I was national manager and head of the HPC business in South Africa. I was the country manager for South Africa. I was in that job for 6 years. The beauty of that is that I had a chance of doing some strategic work, implementing the strategy, getting things wrong, having to learn from that, get off the floor if you like, fix it, and go back and do it again. Okay, and those your greatest learnings, I'm absolutely convinced, in any career that you have, is usually through your failings. Okay, you tend not to learn too much at the top. You tend to ride the wave of great times. When you're down and out and you've got something to learn from is when you really pick up your learnings. Now, to do that sort of thing in any business really, it's probably time and job that really counts. So I'm always quite skeptical if I see CVs with people working 2 years, 2 years, 3 years, 3 years, 3 years, because the challenge you've got, particularly as you get more senior, that's not enough time for you to really make a mark, to build something that's sustainable, lasting, to learn from it and pick it up and go on like that. So I think shuffling around too quickly and not leaving behind any legacies, real legacies where you can look back in 10 years' time and see what you built and see it's sustainable there. I don't think you learn from that. And I think the worrying thing, if you don't do that, eventually when you get to a very senior role, okay, you'll be short of real experience in terms of running it. Okay, and I think that's one of the challenges that you face. You can find it either way, but I'd urge everybody that if you are going to move around, just think about the legacies and what you really learn in each one of your roles, because you have to build that capacity to get to the top. I often joke with people and say, if you get to the top at the age of 40, okay, you may be shy of 5 or 7 years of real hard business experience, and you can't pick up a book, go home for the weekend and read it and get those 7 years back. You can't do that. You need to live it, okay, and you need to be able to experience it firsthand.
How much time would it take for a student who just came to become CEO of Unilever?
Look, I think this is a company that, one of the things that I found working for Unilever is that there was no limits. If you were really good at the end of the day, you can move pretty quickly through the business. So, in my own case of my career, I spent most of my life, in fact, working in line management. And I think, it took me 10 years to get to the first director's position, which was sitting on a company operating board. I was a customer director in 10 years. Then it took me another 10 years to become a CEO of one of the Unilever operations. So I think 20 years, if you really move through well in this, it's possible for you to head up one of our country operations or the equivalent of that within a 20-year period. And that's the sort of experience base that you need to build up. In that time, for me, I'd started in South Africa, worked in Australia, came back to South Africa, worked in London in a global job, okay, running around the world on the marketing and customer side, helping countries run their businesses, and then came back and headed up the company that I started in as a management trainee. So it was a great fairy tale for me to go the whole circle. And that took about 21 years to do that, yeah.
What are the key capabilities, you think, for a person to succeed in a career at Unilever?
The 3 key capabilities that I would look for. Look, I clearly look for somebody who's come in and really hungry for the opportunity. I take for granted the fact that once you get through into a UFLP program, you've cleared, if you like, the academic hurdles that we would like. You've clearly proven to us that you're clever, you can think logically, etc. So I'm looking for people that clearly are coming in very hungry and very committed. And really want to go to the extra mile. Okay, I'm looking for people who are quite results orientated. And the third thing I always look for is just people's ability to mix. Okay, so to work in teams, to work with other people. Maybe quite humble. Okay, inquisitive. I like inquisitive minds, always testing and asking questions. But really, that sort of commitment to say, I'm really looking forward to this. I really want to do this opportunity, and I really want to get stuck in. So look for those sorts of things. Bit of entrepreneurial flair, but as I say, inquisitive, inquiring minds, ability and hunger, want to work hard, committed, okay, are sort of the things that you need once you've got through the front door. I think if you believe in the principle that everybody has potential in an organization, everybody has good, everybody wants to come and try their hardest to do things. Diversity, I think, in workforce and diversity in leadership and management is going to be real value added and competitive advantage. So you need those spiky people. You need the Steve Ballmers of the world and the Jeff Emmelts of the world in your organization if you can. And you need to find a way in which you can allow that to come out and be able to contribute to the agenda. in big corporations, quite often, there are walls, if you like, that we have. We have frameworks in which we try to operate because we want to take the business. But Unilever would certainly try and provide a culture and an environment which allows you to be who you are, okay, within this framework that we set up. We would certainly encourage you to grow. We encourage you to development. I think primarily our leaders need to develop people, so a lot of coaching, a lot of mentoring, clear feedback on performance, and then clear identification of development opportunities that we need to develop you in. Areas where we can help you, and we have the most fantastic learning programs in Unilever. I think our learning programs are really good, particularly our leadership development programs, which start very young in the organization in terms of growing you and developing you to be in a position that I'm in today. It's built up around some really strong principles about purpose-driven leadership, about authenticity, about being very comfortable with who you are, but raising the performance bar as you go through and helping you grow and develop. So I'd like to think that we are getting better and better at that, and better at getting people to contribute to the agenda. And for me, quite frankly, if I've got people in my organization that I'm not allowing them to contribute and they're leaving most of their diversity outside and they don't bring it into the organization, then I'm really selling the organization short as a leader. I've got to find ways of unlocking that.